Before we get started on the video, here are the pictures of the pieces I did in the last couple of videos, the sinks and the show prizes. So people have been asking to see the finished pieces, so here you are. It's Vaughan at westcoastbellpottery.ca in Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm going to try and make bird houses and bird feeders today, and I think I'm going to play. I'm going to try different approaches, and so I'll take you along for the journey and see whether any of it interests you. So what I threw here is about 2 pounds of clay, just over probably, and I'm going to make a lid for it. So I just measured this piece a little bigger than the opening, the other side of the lip basically, and I'm going to make another bowl to fit over the top of that I can then just join together. So this is an easier way of making an enclosed form, and I'll leave a very thick base so I can then make it into a knob and drill a hole through to hold the wire. Okay, I've got these birdhouses now what I would call semi-leather hard. So I can still move them a little bit, but they're firm. So I need to actually, this one I pushed in last night and it's a little bit off now because of that, because it must have been softer on one side than the other, but I've got to cut this and then I can repair that, I think. But I'm going to be very careful and just cut through so I don't wobble. You can go slow if you want doing this because it is risky. And then it should just lift off. And now where I joined this one in, I can see the inside part now, so I could actually, I guess I could even throw it in. Let me actually get you a little look in here. But you can see the join where I wasn't able to join it, but I was joining the outside, but not the inside. So I'm just going to throw that in so it's sealed. Some water on it. And I'm going to close that up a little bit too, because I need it to be a flange for the other one to go over the top of. So my fingertips are putting pressure on to actually push that in, but also seal up the inside joint, which probably wouldn't have hurt because nobody would see that area. But it's nice to think it's done. And once I've got that in, I'm going to test the lid and see if it fits over that flange now. And then I may still have to turn the inside of this where I cut it off, I'm not sure. Look at that, nice one. So, I'll have to trim this down just a touch, but I don't want to make it too thin. But I could also push this in a little bit more too. See, if you let it get too dry, you couldn't do this. So that's why having a damp cover's a good idea. Now it's perfect. Alright, so we got a nice piece. So the water, when it rains on this, won't actually go. And I can drill a hole here and also here, so put the wire through, and then the actual hole won't go into the inside and dribble water onto the bird's nest. But that feels like it's fairly loose, so I've got a good little thing there. Let me make sure it's not sticky, so I don't want it to join together. Okay, so that one was easy, so I'll just have to trim a bit later on. This is the one where I used Bill Wright's tool for making small boxes to push in there. So this one fairly should just drop over the top with a little trimming. Oh, love that center, don't you? That's, you know, it's when you throw them on a bat and then you put them onto a gifting grip or anything, sometimes they're not quite on center. But anyway, I want this to go over the top of that flange, so I'm just going to push in a little bit there, because if it actually cuts through, I don't care, because I want it to anyway. I think it's through in. There you go. So I'm going to have to trim that clean. And now this part, this needs to be trimmed down, but it wouldn't hurt to actually make it curl in a little bit on the inside there as well. Remember, I'm going to have 3 holes drilled in these to hold. I use the planter hangers that I like. I don't want to push that in too much because it actually is not that thick in this area. But I think if I push that in by throwing, I can probably get the lid to go on without much trimming. Let's have it a go. See, I've got a lot to trim there, so I should be able to make it fit even if it doesn't fit now. Look at that. Perfect. I love that word. I guess it will annoy some people though. Yeah, it's just nice. Especially, I mean, I think that we're just lucky that people will buy our work. I mean, I think it's nice if you make sure when somebody buys something that it's really the best you can do. That's perfect. Now, it's a bit sticky here, but I'm going to turn this upside down onto this piece and then trim off a little bit on there, and then it'll be even better. But that one was pretty straightforward. Okay, I turned my fan off because that was annoying. I didn't realize it was making such a noise there. This one I threw separately to put on there, and it's a bit tight. I can trim this down, but I could also push that in. Oh, but before I do that, I want to try to throw in the lid. Is that centered? No. Maybe I should push that in first, because I want to be able to. I need to wet it a touch. I want to be able to throw a knob on that lid. There you go. Now I got an email yesterday from an AI bot that looked like a human being, nicely dressed young lady, very professional looking, and it was from somebody called Head, and I'm not even sure what that is, but they wanted me to review some paintbrushes, and they pay me $90 to do it, and give me the brushes for free. And I looked at it, and it was this marketing thing is supposedly going to replace real people who have marketing teams, and that's their business, because this one works 24 hours a day, doesn't sleep, because it's a bot that will do all your marketing for you. Isn't that scary? We're talking about AI replacing real people. So that's kind of, a future that I'm not really happy with. Let me know what you think, because I think technology should be there to help us, but not to replace us. So I didn't respond. They look like nice paintbrushes, but I'm not responding. And so now I'm just sort of throwing this in a little bit. The clay is a bit stiff, so I'm not sure if I can do this well enough. But maybe this one dried a bit too much. But if I persist and go slow, it should. I just want to thin that out a little bit. So my sponge is there just to lubricate a little bit as I'm doing this. My goal is to get it so that I can put a hole in here through there without going into the inside. This definitely has dried out a little bit more than I wanted it to, but I can still do it. It's about putting pressure on without squishing down this area down here, so that's what I'm trying to watch to make sure it doesn't, because that area is still fairly soft down there. I don't see any bulges yet. Not sure if you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm trying to make a knob so I can put the the planter hanger. It's working. But if I'd let this get it, I went grocery shopping this morning. Life gets in the way. Yeah. It's summer, I want to do a barbecue. It's been a very good week. We're ahead sales-wise of last year, which we're very happy with, but quite surprised because of what's going on around the world. And I saw my largest piece, which I was really happy with. And sad too, because I loved that piece. You get attached to them, they're like children. Is that big enough? I think I could get a hole right through there and another hole there, maybe 3 holes, to have the planter thing just pulling up like that, and that would work so that we don't get any rain on the birdhouse, well, on the bird nest inside. But that's what I needed to do to those anyway. And let's see if it still lifts off. Yay! So that one's fairly nice as well. So that's another way of doing it. This is another one I did, the same thing. This one's like a better fit straight away anyway. so I don't have to worry too much, but it would be nice if that actually sat down flush onto there. So I'm just going to try to push that in a touch. This one is fairly stiff too, so I'm just going to throw it in a bit. Your little finger can often do things your big finger can't, because the width of your finger is actually, you have to put more pressure on the wider your finger is, kind of thing. As long as I don't turn the wheel on now and make it spin off. And like that. So that's another one. So basically imagine I'm going to have a hole here, I'm going to have a hole inside there where these will be fastened together, and then the picture wire will come up here. And some of them I actually did where the hanging thing, the wire went through here, down inside and came there, but that let water in, so I'm trying to do these without being able to let water in. So I think I'm just going to put holes opposite each other in the pot and the lid, and then just have a little piece of wire. But you know, that will be noticeable, so that's my dilemma. Okay, this style will have a hole straight through the top there, and the actual dome fits down, so I need to put a flange down about here that will actually catch the lid to stop it falling any lower. So I need to trim this down as a sort of a total shaft without getting it too thin, because I don't want it to break easily. Another thing you could do is just to put a coil. Actually, that might not be a bad idea. Now I've got this coil which is way too big. I'm going to smudge it down to make a ramp on one side of it. Let's just wet the underside there so it'll stick a little easier. So, and then I just have to throw it in there a little harder. So that's going to catch the, and I'll make it look nicer obviously, but that will catch the dome. Okay. So the lid is going to fit right over the top there, and then there'll be a hole here. So whatever width this is the size of the hole that's going to be in the lid. And I'll make sure it's at least a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch bigger, so even the glaze on it will still fit over there. But I just need to drill a hole right through here where the picture wire will go, and then the lid goes over, and then little birds can get in, but the pigeons won't be able to because it'll be a narrow hole at this point. That's my guess anyway. Okay, the pieces are now leather hard, so I just used this little 1 1/8 or 1 1/4 inch hole cutter just to mark it, because I like to cut it with a knife instead. If you want to get different birds, you just have to put holes in ranging from about 1 1/8 inch up to 1 1/4 inch. For like different house martins, like a slightly bigger hole. Little finches will only like it to be about 1 inch in size, and that's so the predators don't get in. And then you just cut your hole. I use an X-Acto knife rather than that drill, because it makes a rough cut if you use the drill. And then just pull it around. And remember shrinkage. So that way even if it gets glaze on it and stuff, it'll still be the right size hole. You don't want to be too small, you want to at least get the finches in there. So that is 1.25 inches now. So maybe just make it a little bit bigger. That's always the dilemma, isn't it? How much is it going to shrink? But it is leather hard already. I'll try not to let it fall in. Now another thing, as I said, with these pieces, they are going to be wired on for the lid, so I simply use a drill. You know, my planter things have 3 wires. But I may not use the planter hook around here, I just don't know yet. And that is so that I can wire a little piece of wire loop so it's not hardly noticeable and then twist it. So this will be held on, and then at the end of the season you can go out there and clean it up. In this area I'm showing drilling 2 holes, but I actually decided to drill a 3rd hole directly from the top down so that the planter would hang more evenly, and you'll see at the end of the video that I did that. So make sure you put a hole vertically down as well as the 2 side holes. You don't need the 2 side holes actually. With the drill again. And you'll have to watch when you're glazing so they don't actually block up with glaze. That's important when you're doing a glaze process. Just 2 little holes which they go around the outside, and we'll have a piece of picture wire or some galvanized wire to go on there. And that one's finished, except for if I want to carve anything onto it, whatever I want to do to it. Nice glazing would be good. Oh, and one last thing. If you want the bird to have a perch, you can do that. One person told me not to do that because the predators can sit on the perch and poke their head in there and maybe get the young. So that's something you have to worry about. Okay, this is the one that's going to be a feeder, and I'm going to put 3 holes in. And I've got one of these nice compass type discs showing 0 to 360 degrees. So I marked out 120, 240, and of course the 120, 240, and then back to 360, which is also 0. But anyway, so I've made little marks there at those mark areas, 120 degrees apart. And then I am going to find 60. Where's the 61? Which is the halfway point here. I'll get rid of that. That was the hole I put in yesterday to make sure the air didn't blow it up. That's where it's got to go there. And then we're going to go between 120 and 240 would be 180. So that's 60 degrees. Yep, 60 degrees. So we'll make another mark here. Got to do some math here. And then again the same. 240 plus 60 is 300. So make another mark here. So I've got those. That's going to be the center of the hole. And I've made a little, by cutting it, drawing a little half oval, and then on a folded piece of paper you get yourself a nice. And you want to take it high up so you don't actually, you want to be able to get food in here that doesn't fall out, obviously. So take it as high up as you can, right to the roof. And then you can just draw a little line around your oval. Too bad I've got this nice oval I can use for some decorative thing. I don't know what, no, it's not. That's silly. Same again. So that wouldn't be bad, but all you do for that now is you got to hang it, so we've got to put a hole. For the picture wire to go in, and then when I trim it I'll put a hole in the bottom, just a tiny hole, but that's another one. Okay, I can't leave alone, you know, it's like my brain spins. I thought what a great idea if they had a little roof over where they actually get so the rain won't go in. So I've just, these ovals I cut out, I cut a little straight pot that I could put over there, and I've been scoring and scratching 3 times because this clay is leather hard. And whenever you've got leather hard clay, which is no longer bendable, you really do have to do some serious scoring and scratching, which is why this tool with 5 needles is really useful. And then you can just place them, and I would think they should hold. The more things you have like this, of course, like I said, you've got time in this now. There you go. Maybe it could fly. Anyway, so we need to put a hole in here again. Okay, the last birdhouse will look like that in about 2 minutes. So there's the big plate with bowl that I made. It sits in there. Open this up, and you just trim it as normal. Get you down here so you can see. Okay, so there we go. So I've got it on the wheel. Trim it. Don't want to make these too thin, but they shouldn't be too heavy either. So balance again. You want it to be able to survive some pretty sort of gusty winds outdoors, especially around here. So basic trimming, and I'm just going to put a little bit of chattering on there. Put a couple of lines in there, just some extra stuff for catching the wind. And then I need to put a hole in the center. Don't make the hole too big, but you don't want to keep it tight because the glaze will basically stick in there as well. I've got the trimmings still left in here from what I did earlier. Brush them out. It was a bit soft, I guess. There you go. So that's my little spindle. Just make sure the hole isn't got any nasty stuff there either. I can clean that up a bit later anyway. You test it, and that's perfect straight away. So I'll have to trim this in a minute, but let's have a look, see how it looks. So I lift it up by the center. It's a little bit soft, this one. So you sit that there. This will sit like that. And I'll fire them. Maybe I should fire these together because I can unglaze I believe no glaze on the inside part there. And that'll save some space in the kiln. But that's it. It's a hopefully slightly squirrel-proof bird feeder. Okay, just took these out of the kiln, and this is what they will look like. There's a hook on the top there, and here's the second one I did, basically with that extra piece of wire. So I had two of these extras. I also want to point out that I chickened out of doing the holes in the side of these because I thought it might be difficult to actually wire things through the sides, so I did actually drill a hole in the top of these, and that way it will be a little bit more centered, even though I have to sacrifice a little bit of water going through there into the bird's nest. But then again, bird's nest in the wild outdoors, and I assume rain gets into wherever they are, so that's important. Okay, I just took these out of the kiln, and this is what they will look like. There's a hook on the top there. It does have a hole in it, and there's a little twig to be stuck in underneath there. But basically, I'll show you now how to wire this up. These three hangers come from a garden center. You can buy these wire hangers. Just type, just search wire plant pot hangers on Mr. Google. So hope you enjoyed that. It's fun bird feeders. It's that time of year, of course. Make them now so that they'll have some food in the fall and in the winter. So it's hot today, but it's still pretty good around here, about 85 degrees. All right, thanks for joining me on another long-winded video. Well, here they are in situ. This makes my entrance to the pottery sort of friendly and cheerful, so I like having these out here. When I run out, I know I have to make some more, but they're not the best sellers. They just steadily sell, so it's nice to have them. But